Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. Life out there can be miserable. It's dark, it's dank, and the governments are destroying everything. So, once again, I'm Bradley, and I'm joined by Stu, and we're here to bring you a bit of joy and a bit of light into that dark, dank world. How are you, Stu?
I'm actually pretty good, which is, considering that it's absolutely hammering it down outside, and I've just been to the dentist, that's quite surprising. So, yeah, I'm classing that as a win.
Fair enough, that's good. I've got a new pussy.
Well, it's about time, Bradley.
We've it's a long story, and I won't bore with the story on air because it's just it's not exciting. It's just long-winded. But yeah, we've got another little kitten.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And just he came yesterday, so really fresh. Jesus Christ, I sound like I'm standing out the front of the From Dusk Till Dawn thing.
You do.
We've got a ginger pussy, and we've got a little black and white kitten.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've called him Zagreus.
Oh, good name.
Well, I've always wanted to name a pet after a video game character. And I don't want to do like Mario or anything like that because that's crap. And everyone does it, and Link and Zelda. I can't do that. The only other one I really, really like, but is Aloy. But you need really a girl cat for that. It's because of Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn on either of the Horizon games. It's very much a girl's cat name, and obviously Ginger as well because she's redheaded. So
yeah.
We kind of like it would have worked for a ginger cat. So a black and white one. I couldn't think of any, and I was going through. I can't think of a video game character. And then I started looking through other things, like got through like Greek, Norse mythology and all stuff like that, and then I just remembered, oh, Zagreus. Zagreus is really cool. So yeah, and then the kids were happy because they call him Zaggy for short.
Nice.
So, yeah, lovely little new kitten. And Charlie he's sniffing him a lot. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
What the hell is this you've brought into my property? But, you know, early days, but good signs. And, yeah, it's a lovely little thing.
Oh, lovely. The only thing I can think of that's, like, immediately obvious is that they're called, I had to look this up, you'll be unsurprised to hear, that their names are Toro and Kuro. They were the PlayStation mascots. You still see them now and again. If you play, like, Astro's Playroom on the PS5, you see them now and again. Little cat mascots, yeah. A black one and a white one. Oh, very cute. Yeah, but we've got...
I kind of remember them,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
They was, weird big eyes, 2D... Not 2D, but like weird big eyes. And yeah, I remember them big in Japan.
Yeah. I don't think they ever became mascots over in the West at all. But yeah, no, they're all right. But yeah, I don't.
They was in. I'm sure they're in the PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale as well.
Probably, yeah. I don't know if I've said on the podcast, but we've got kittens next door. So our next door neighbours have got a pair of black and white kittens, a boy and a girl, and they're so cute. And they're about 4 or 5 months, and the best thing about them, apart from the fact that they're gorgeous and really friendly and, you know, playful, is because they're litter mates, you can pick both of them up and hold both of them at the same time, and they don't get like squirmy. They like being next to each other, so you can hold 2 cats and cuddle them. It blows my mind. I'm just in love with them.
Oh my God. And they're available when?
I know, right?
We live in a small 2-bedroom flat. We can't have any more.
We could steal them. They're here all the time anyway. But no, I thought, yeah, probably best not.
If they're next door, you get the best of both worlds. If you get on with your neighbours, and I hope you do.
You do.
And clearly you do, or they're letting you pick up their cats. So
yeah.
It's a bit weird if you really didn't get on with them, but you was popping around and picking up their cats.
Yeah.
It's so you get the best of both worlds. You haven't got to worry about the litter training, the feeding them, but you still get to play with them.
Yeah, paying for them to be fixed, which is going to cost a pretty penny. But yeah, no, they're wonderful.
And do you know what else you could play with?
What?
Video games.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the end of Pussycast. It's now time to talk about video games.
Marvellous. I like that idea. It's a little bit off base, but, let's go with it.
And that was actually a decent segue for
Yeah,
once.
it was actually a proper segue, like human beings normally do. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it was brilliant. What have you been playing?
Well, the first one I just picked up because it's dirt cheap, and I'm very easily swayed on dirt cheap. And it's called, and anyone who's watched The Boys, including your good self, will immediately go, what? Called Stormfront, the Mutant War. It's got nothing to do with Nazis and the SS, you'd be pleased to hear.
Oh,
yeah.
I actually say that's actually pretty gutty because I think that could make a very good game.
It would.
A Stormfront game where you're playing like the enemy was
You'd have to be very cautious about how you approached it, but it could be done. Yeah.
Well, how the boys approached it, essentially. If you're satirical enough and it's a commentary enough, you could get away with it. But anyway, this isn't about the amazing The Boys.
Well, you made me want to talk about The Boys now. And, season 3, absolutely brilliant. I mean, they all are.
Oh, God. It just gets better.
It does.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't get better because the bar's so high.
It is very high. It's just the satire of it. It's actually properly dark and satirical. So good.
Yes.
But Stormfront, the Mutant War, is nowhere near on the same level. But it's all right.
Before I start going into my Cole Urban impression.
Oh, no, don't do that.
Come on, tell me about this non-The Boys related game called Stormfront that has nothing to do with Nazis.
I will. And what it has to do with is, it does have a kind of, I think what they've done, I think it's a Euro game. So they're kind of big Teutonic guys. Well, guy that you're playing as. Let me tell you about the game. That would be useful. So the game itself is like a exploration shooter. They said, I saw the advertising for it and reviews saying it's like Total Carnage, which is the pseudo sequel to Smash TV. But It's not really. It's much more like games from a couple of years before that, like Ikari Warriors, Commando. There's even quite a bit of Alien Syndrome in there. And you're kind of like, it was like separating all those games is like you could put like a cigarette paper between them in terms of what they're like. But at least Alien Syndrome has a bit of kind of key and unlock gates and stuff. And, it's Gauntlet with aliens, really, isn't it? Alien Syndrome.
Yes.
This doesn't really even have that, and it's just making me sound like I'm hating on it. So to recalibrate a bit, it's basically like Mercs, Commando, Ikari Warriors, Shock Troopers. It's that kind of a game, and it's flattering to call it like Total Carnage, because Total Carnage was a bit of a mistake. It wasn't a great game. It was just too much going on, too easy to die. It's the reason why when you play a game like Smash TV, you put it in an arena, not a scrolling level, because the minute you start scrolling, you're getting shot from off screen, right? So That's why. It's nothing like Total Carnage, really. It's Ikari Warriors, it's Mercs, it's Commando. It's fine. It's all right. It looks like those games. It's like, like I've said quite a lot of times, one of those retro throwback style games that if you stuck an extra sort of gig of memory, or an extra gig, a gig of memory in a Mega Drive, or even platform it on the Neo Geo, you'd be able to run this game. It's one of them. Like Xeno thingy that I played, that I always forget the name of. They got released on the Neo Geo and on the Mega Drive. Anyway, you wander around and kill stuff with your spread shot or your direct shot or your flamethrower, and that's all really I can say about it. We've talked about it for about 5 minutes, which is probably 4.5 more than it warrants. It's absolutely fine, but if you are a millennial or above, you're gonna have played this game so many times already. Describing it
sounds I've a game I've played so many times, under various different skins and guises. I think you are right. Even you said it, you kind of like described it. I went, all right, okay, yeah, done that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. If you want one of those to play, I suppose it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a kind of thing with when you hear about Total Carnage, you're kind of like, right, there's a lot you could do with that. You really could make Total Carnage. So it's like, okay, so what does Total Carnage try and do? I'm not going to say do, but I'll say try and do. And I think what it tries to do is give you a big level that has a lot of different obstacles, paths, not different objectives because it's just kill, 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 but has tons of enemy types. You can do all sorts of different things and have different firing patterns. And like Smash TV, that's very clever, especially if it's fun. And the design is great, and it's got a real aesthetic of its own. And it is like playing, if you were in a cyberpunk world, like say you put your VR headset on and you go into a cyberpunk world, the arcade game in that cyberpunk world would be Total Carnage. And, that's how I can describe it. And it just mechanically just didn't work properly. But you could tidy it up so that it did. And if you did, and you had a load of chaos, and you had a little bit like, oh God, you see, I'm not going to remember the name now. What's the one where you've just got to go into rooms and shotgun people? What's that called?
Recent?
No. Last 6 years, 7 years. What's it called?
Oh, Hotline Miami?
Yes, Hotline Miami. Take inspiration from Hotline Miami, maybe. So have all the craziness and chaos and violence, but there's like an instant rewind feature. Throw that in there, perhaps. Something like that. You could make a really good idea, a really good game out of the Total Carnage idea, I reckon. But this ain't it. But it's interesting talking about Total Carnage because I love everything about that game apart from the actual game.
Yeah. No, I get you. So essentially, though, what we're getting is, if you was to score this, it's ignore this, go and watch The Boys out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a public service announcement. If you haven't watched The Boys, watch The Boys.
Yep. Brace yourselves, but yeah, watch it.
Yeah. Brace yourselves. You can't.
Yeah.
Good luck. Edit that bit out if you want. We'll bleep it. It's a very high-pitched version of it. Cole Urban isn't that high-pitched.
He's a bit of a gravelly boy, isn't he?
Yeah, but also, do you know what I really like about Cole Urban in this? And first of all, when I first watched it, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh my God, it's not the best British accent. But they lean into it. Cole Urban knows it's not a proper British accent, and he leans into it. And I respect that.
I do.
What he's nailed really well, and this is the thing he's got, it's not the accent, but the casual swearing that fits into every sentence is how a lot of British people speak.
Yeah.
And he nails that side of it. He's gone he's gone away from the Hollywood British and gone to the common British, which is superb.
Yeah. Well, that is a very kind of Aussie trait as well.
Yeah. So far we've had the Pussy cast and the Boys cast.
Yep.
So I'm going to move on, and I'm going to talk about a game called Dome Keeper, which is out now, I believe. I'll just check my notes. Yeah, it came out at the back end of September. So this is late. That's what I was going to talk about this last weekend. Last weekend, I got distracted with other things. Anyway, Dome Keeper is a roguelike. Stay with me. Base building this time. Okay, so a bit more intrigue. There's aliens, you've got survival, very sci-fi and stuff like that. But essentially, you kind of crash land on this planet, so to speak. You get a dome put around you to protect you and your computer gear and stuff like that. But you're getting attacked by aliens from the sky and from the ground and stuff like that. And you need to basically defend them, but you've got nothing to do that with. You've got a very basic weapon and this dome you need to protect, and if the dome cracks, you're dead. So you've got to protect all from the monsters and everything. So the way you do that is from the position of your dome, you dig into the ground, into the planet, and then you have to go and dig and sort of like mine for resources, bring those resources back up to your dome so they can then be converted into different elements to help you upgrade weapons, upgrade your defences, repair your dome, etc, etc. And what happens is, as you're digging, you get like almost like a timer for waves of enemies to come and attack you. So you could be down digging and you might see your timer going off and going, oh no, I've now got to get back up. And you decide, do I leave these resources where they are to get up quicker, or do I take these extra resources with me? It's slower, but it'll give me enough that I can now upgrade this weapon, etc, etc. So you have to really balance everything. And you kind of like, you pick up these jewels down there, some other like natural elements which help, and then you find there's like maybe artifacts down there which could give you like instant upgrades and things like that. So you get up and you shoot. Now, first of all, you get no indication of when this stuff is happening. You just get an alarm. But like, the first upgrade you can get will give you a like little countdown timer to go, next wave is coming. So you can kind of judge things. You can then upgrade your move speed, so you can move around the mine quicker, your dig speed. So if you've played something like Steamworld Dig, and like the further you get down into the world, you need to upgrade your digging tools to sort of like be able to attack the heavier tiles. It's similar to that, so you can upgrade that. And then you can also upgrade the amount you can carry. So it's all various like upgrade trees for all different things. And you can get better guns, automated turrets, stunning things that stop them, and then you could get other things that will automate your digging. So you can get like this little like almost like dog-like creature that you could purchase, and then you send that into the mines to do some digging for you. But you've then got to keep that dog fed, so you have to use other resources to feed that, so you have to bring that back to your base and stuff like that as well, and it just all builds and builds and builds, and it could, on initial look for you go, that's really complicated, but it introduces all the mechanics, and this is where roguelike I think works really, really well, because the more you play, the further you get, the more you understand, the more you learn, the more you get, the more it's introduced, that it builds you up like that. It's what the best roguelikes do really well, and this does it really well.
Yeah.
Now, I first played it, and I put it on for about half an hour, and I was like, oh, this is it. It's a bit, I don't know. Okay, not much is going on. But I've then sunk many hours into this. I've made progress through it. Still not great at it, but yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic, and I can't recommend it enough. And it, there's a base level one where you've got to try and basically find this. There's an end game to it, and then there's like almost like an endless mode to it as well. But it all just fits together so well. And if this was if this was a SteamWorld game and it had the SteamWorld Dig characters, I think this would be considered probably one of the most popular indie games of the year. But it's not SteamWorld. It's its own thing, and it's really, really, really good. And I'm really enjoying my time with this one.
Well, it looks phenomenal for like, especially it's like apparently a 2-person team, and it looks amazing. So yeah, they've clearly hit on something special there.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I've played this exclusively on the Steam Deck as well. Some small text, but it's slow paced enough when you need to see text that you can just do a zoom in, no problems. But it's not overly small. Again, this is me going, I've got eye conditions, obviously, and I struggle a bit. Most people are not going to struggle with it, but it is some slight small text, and if they can improve that, that'd be really good. But it's from Raw Fury, so they've got a really, really good hit record in terms of producing good games.
Nice. Yeah. No, that does really look quite exceptional. So, lovely.
And like everything else, you can get a soundtrack. I'm not quite sure it needs a soundtrack separately, but hey, if you're into video game music, there might be stuff in there that you might want. It's very atmospheric as well, actually. I really like how atmospheric it is. Awesome. Yeah, give that one a go if you get a chance.
Yeah, I might look it up. It's just, with all this stuff, it's just a case of time, It really is.
Add it to your wish list.
I know. so much on that thing, though.
I'm down to 293. We was talking off air about it, about like what we was preparing for today's podcast. I said I forgot 350 odd. I did have 350 odd. I managed to. There's a lot of games that I've had on there that are out now that I've still not got round to buying, even though they've been in sales. So I've just gone, that can go, that can go, that can go.
I do that. Yeah. It's a good test for me of whether I actually want it. It's just if it's gone past a sale and I didn't get it, get rid of it.
Yeah, most of them, I mean, I dare say they will be added again when I see them in a sale that's half decent, but I haven't got the money. I go, I'll add that for next time, and it'll build back up again.
Yeah.
But we're coming to the Steam Secret Santas and everything on certain forums we use, so I need to trim my wish list to make sure I don't just have a bunch of like 39p games that I'm half interested in but never got round to playing.
Yeah, good point.
So what's next from yourself?
Well, I've been playing something from the Steam Next Fest, which is, we've talked about it on this podcast before, but It's the demo of demos where they pick out a bunch of likely looking indie candidates and put them forward so you can play them in a demo format before purchase. And the one that I picked was the Entropy Project, which has been, it's got quite a lot of attention. And I think the main reason is because it uses the Portal aesthetic. So you're a person with a gun who solves puzzles, and that's very Portal. What the difference is here, even though there's a lot of aesthetic similarities I'll go through in a bit, but what this does differently is your gun is a time gun, localized to objects rather than the entire world. So you can place an object and then place it somewhere else, say like on a switch to open a door, and say you need to get through several doors and you need to have a box placed on a floor switch at one point and then moved to another one. You can physically move it between points and then use your gun to wind back in time so that you can get through a particular obstacle and then open up another door to get over that. So basically, you're using the time mechanic to reconstruct or deconstruct stuff so that you can get through the levels. And grasping what it does is very simple. So that's similar to Portal. And then the complexity of how they design the puzzles gets higher and higher as you go along, and the demo's quite substantial. So far I've played probably about 6 or 7 rooms worth, maybe a couple more than that even, and still more to go to put at least half an hour or more into it, and it seems pretty good. I'm not sure if it'll ultimately be my kind of a game, because it seems to have, obviously there was a big physical component to Portal, so part of the puzzle solving was being able to complete jumps and move yourself physically in space, and it was kind of half cerebral, half physical, whereas this is much more cerebral. It's much more you've got to use your brain. It doesn't really matter what your reactions are like, and that means it's more of a puzzle game, a straightforward puzzle game in a way. Whether I like that, I'm not sure. It's already starting to get quite technical and difficult, and I, you know me, a bit of a thicko when it comes to this stuff. And
you're the role of the podcast, shall we say?
Absolutely, one of the pillars of the podcast is me not having any real spatial awareness. So whether it'll be for me, I'm not entirely sure, but it's going to be I think it'll be popular with a lot of people, especially if you like The Witness and stuff like that, I think. Only thing of note other than that so far is it runs very poorly on Steam Deck, which is disappointing. I think it's a problem at the engine level. I'm not sure what they use. It might be Unity. I think it's a problem at that level, because I've done stuff like turn as much stuff down as I can. Always start with shadows, by the way, just as a tip. If you're having poor performance on any computer, turn down shadows tends to be one of the biggest asset draws.
That's why that Gladiators game didn't work out.
Oh god, that's a bad joke.
That's a reference to something that most people probably won't understand.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, you've locked loads of people out of that one. Yeah, so it's performance-wise not great, and even doing all the trickery that you used to with the Steam Deck to get it to run well, I'm still getting drops below 30 frames, and that's a bit of a shame. So I would say, sorry, go on.
Hopefully, just unoptimized because it's an earlier demo build.
Yes, that's a very good possibility that they'll have optimised it by the time it's at release.
Which is not far away. I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah, November, I think.
Yeah, early November as well. So we're 3 weeks away, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the demo, just I'd say play it on your PC if it's got a bit more grunt than your deck, if you've got a deck. But yeah, no, it seems okay for the right audience. I think it'll do well.
Trailer's done enough for me. I'm sold on it.
You're in. Yeah, definitely.
So at no point am I insulting the Portal games because they are easily, it's one of those where if I was to sit back properly and do a proper top 10 of all time, the Portal series is in there. It's one of those that I sometimes forget about when I'm talking about like my favourite games of all time. But if I was to sit back properly, someone mentions Portal, oh crap, yeah, that's got to be in there somewhere because they are amazing. However, the issue I had with Portal 2 came with the levels that had a bit more kinetic energy to them, where it was about timed jumps and things like that, because I struggled with that. The slower, more, as you said, cerebral-based puzzles, where it was just like, make sure you've got the portal in the right place, and you've done this, and then this is what you need to do. Brilliant. I love those bits. And I love the figuring out. It's then the timing of the action, the actual actions of that kind of it. I could not do. I struggled with that. I always have done. I've never had the best of reactions in video games or anything, unless I'm repeating that same thing over and over. In Portal 2, you're not repeating the same thing over and over because it's story-based. Obviously, it wants to push you forward. So I got through it and it wasn't impossible. It was absolutely brilliant and I absolutely adored it. Whereas you said, like, what I think is not putting you off of this, but is you going, it's not quite what I would go for, is literally, it's taking out the bits that I struggled with in Portal 2 and giving me the game I would want. So, I'm intrigued by this. So it's, Jesus Christ, here we go. There we go. 294.
I thought I was doing bad having about 60 on my wish list. I feel a bit better now.
I can't. So before, is there anything else you want to say about this one?
Nope.
No. So before I move on to my next one, right, I'll give you an idea, right? Let's go to my ranks, take off the on sale. So, like, my top 10 at the moment, right, I've got, like, Spirit Swap, which is going to be my absolute, this is going to be my game of the year next year. I don't care what anyone says. It's a match-free game with made by queer developers, and it leans heavily into the queer as well, and it's, like, it's a match-free story-based game with, like, witches and stuff like that. It looks brilliant. Tape Recovery Simulator is another one, because I just love the sound of that one. Endless Dungeon, Beacon Pines, Shovel Knight. Why have I still got Shovel Knight on there? I don't know. Terra Nil, which is that reverse city builder where you've got like the world's ended and you've got to build it back up from nothing using natural resources.
Yep.
A Little to the Left, which is absolutely brilliant. Hellcard, which is a roguelike deck building, card battling dungeon crawler. You know me, Stu. You know me. But old sort of like those sort of games that are on there, there's like a lot of them, a hell of a lot of them. It's just building. There's photography games on there that I've got, just loads and loads of stuff that's like indie games that are coming at some point. So yeah, and a lot of like also sort of like indie-based sports games. So I'm really into sports games at the moment as well, and I want some that aren't like overly simulation. It's a fun old mix, and gradually I'll get those taken down. But it helps you know what to try and request for review purposes.
Indeed. And do you want a little window into my world of my wish list?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. Well, there are a few on there that you won't be surprised by that I think a lot of people have on, who like kind of
Pac-Man, Space Invaders.
Oh yeah, all that. You know me, forever looking backwards. No, the stuff like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, you know, the one that's a bit Jet Set Radio-y, and you can expand that out to like anything that's kind of got a lot of interest from people. That's a kind of single A or double A kind of action adventure type game. But what's on there that a lot of people won't have on their wish list is a bunch of VR games that are either out soon or already out, and they include stuff like, just scrolling through, Bone Lab, which came out about 2 days ago, which is a pseudo sequel to Boneworks, which is one of the biggest VR games of all time. Something called Into the Darkness, Iron Rebellion, which is a mech online early access VR game. We've got, what else? Mask Maker, which is a kind of puzzly VR game. These are all VR. The only kind of big game I've got on there that's sort of big is the Callisto Protocol, which I'm really looking forward to, and
that's
hoping
the Dead Space like, isn't it?
That's the one by the original developers, and
which would be better than the Dead Space remake.
Yes, I'm not touching that. I can talk about why if you like, but it mostly.
We'll talk about that one next week because I've got some thoughts on that one as well, and that will go on a while.
Good. Yeah, what's unusual out of my list is generally the VR stuff, and there's quite a bit of good content, but not a load, because as I've said, it's kind of in a mire. I'm really hoping that PSVR 2 next year is going to like kick it all into action again.
Fair enough. I'm looking forward to hearing your takes on that. Both my kids are enjoying the VR experience of the PlayStation 4 at the moment.
Marvellous.
Yourself, and yeah, they're really enjoying it.
They
don't play many of the games. I think they're like Astro's Playroom or whatever it is, the VR experience on that mainly. But yeah.
Astro is just amazing. It's one of those like Half-Life Alyx that is one of the games of the decade, but nobody's played it because it's only a subset of a subset have got a VR headset.
Yeah.
I think I might be right in saying that that PSVR sold about 6 million units. Maybe it might be higher than that. It might be up to 10. But over the world, that's not a huge amount. It's reasonable enough. But that a brilliant game, Astro. Yeah.
Talking of units sold, the Steam Deck's over 1 million now.
Nice.
And it's just getting more and more. I think as more and more people get it, more and more people are wanting it. So yeah, that's all great stuff. And I think it's going to change. Honestly, going to change what video games are going forward as well. I think in terms of what developers have to think about now when they make a game.
Yes.
I think it's going to have a bit, because 1 million, it's obviously it's small numbers compared to what the PlayStation 2 sold, but I don't think anything's ever going to beat the PlayStation 2 in terms of numbers sold. And stuff like that. But once you break that first 1 million, don't forget this is still pretty much early access pre-order stage. Once you break that first 1 million on a niche product, that's when I think that it really counts, and they've got to start taking notice.
I agree completely. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, only fairly briefly, but it's interesting, is getting Chiaki working on my deck, which is where you can play your PS5 on it remotely.
Yes.
Similar to Moonlight, which is another third-party thing, non-official. It's really good. Good enough for me to have gone on eBay and bought some second-hand home plugs, because it doesn't work brilliantly over Wi-Fi for me. And hoping that having some Ethernet hooked up will make it a more solid experience. But it looks gorgeous. Or I only say that to say this, which is that think of a scenario of how you want to play games, and you pretty much get in there with the deck. Like, it can do almost all of it, and that's just crazy. Just crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't want that,
Oh, 100%. It's, the seamless switching. So what I've always liked, I've got like various different like handhelds. I've got my Vita, I've got a 3DS here, I've got my Ambinic and stuff like that. And I love them, but it's always been about, which one do I take out if I'm going out? Do I take that one? But what if I don't want to play like a SNES game, and I really want to play like like a PSP game, or this, or I do actually want to play something modern. Well, I can't play something modern because you can't take many modern games handheld unless I take a Switch. But then I can't play a lot of my retro games on the Steam Deck. It's just go, right, okay, it's loaded up with pretty much everything I want. Off we go.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And it's just covered everything. And I know some people have different ways, and everyone's using it in different ways as well. That's the thing. So obviously you get people going, I don't want to tinker with it, and you're like, you don't got to. But I've got a nice balance. Like Emudex on there. I know some people are loading up Batasera now, and I have got a spare memory card, and I am tempted to do a Batasera build as well, just as another alternative. I don't know why. I don't need to, but I am tempted. So but I know that down the line, should a Steam Deck 2 come out, which it probably will at some point, I've just got already loaded Batasera on a memory card, and I can just pop that into my original Steam Deck, hook that up as portable or to the TV, and then I've got a complete retro system where I can still play a couple of thousand games, if that, modern, like native games as well. So it could become my retro machine but play modern games. But the Steam Deck 2 I can use for 2027 games and beyond, for example. So I think it's even got that longevity to it, because I think PCs now have got longevity that they didn't have before, and I think the pandemic helped with that, ironically enough, because more and more people can't afford to get the latest 4090 Ti's or whatever. They've got to stick with their 10 series or their 20 series, and developers have got to start realising that now they can't push the boundaries of graphics anymore. That's done. Those days are done. This is where Valve are clever. I think they brought the deck out at the perfect time, because they know it's changing, and I think they've done it. Now, I don't think Valve was the greatest company of all time, and I'm not, shitting for them, but they've got some very clever business people. Their best marketing they've got for Half-Life 3 is ignoring Half-Life 3, because if that ever comes out, that doesn't matter how bad that game is, that's selling gangbusters. So, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and I think they've nailed it this time. All their mistakes, quote unquote, in the past, and we spoke about it before, they've nailed it with the Steam Deck.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You're right. They don't release bad products. That's the thing. It's like they often haven't in the past found a niche, but that doesn't mean the product itself is bad. It's just the market wasn't ready, or it was the wrong market, or the wrong time, all the other stuff that you normally fall into with marketing problems. But you're right, the deck landed at exactly the right time, and I think it's partly because of Nintendo napping on the Switch, Switch 2. I think that it's like people are just starting to tail off on feeling like the Switch is of its time, and now is starting to feel over its time. Looking to the future, looking to the next one, and in on that horizon, instead of Switch 2 or a Switch Pro, there was the deck, and there's loads of people who've just gone, yep, that's me, and jumped onto it. So
and you can play Switch games on it sometimes better than you can play those on the actual Switch.
Sometimes.
I know some run really badly, but it's again, all it needs is a little boosted hardware down the line, and you get in there. And because it is a computer, it potentially is upgradable. That's the other thing that's crazy about it. It's potentially upgradable.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, never going to be easy. I won't be able to upgrade one, but if someone could now, we can upgrade the graphics chip in this. You can sort of just go, all right, how much is that going to cost me to send to you and get done? It's all there, which you can't do with a console because of how it's done. And I think what also helped is the underwhelming reaction to the Xbox and PlayStation 5 this time round. This feels fresh, whereas they didn't. They just felt like, oh, it's okay. It's more of the same, which is good, because again, you're not sort of like priced out of new games on the Xbox side, and even PlayStation decided, oh, we've got to stick with it because of supply chain. But they don't feel fresh, they don't feel new. Yet this does, and you've got potentially, it's got the best launch lineup ever. The Steam Deck launch lineup will never be beaten.
Yeah,
Well, it will do the Steam Deck too because you've got all those games plus. But you know what I mean? As a lot, it's because you're not launching with 10, 20 games. You're launching with thousands.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's just it's only what you can do in terms of gaming and gaming history is only really limited by the top end and then by your imagination, really. And it's fantastic. And I think that's right. I think it's fired people's imaginations. That's what it does. Because, you know, I can come to it and go, ooh, you know, I wonder what it's like with this latest game that I've bought. And then, like, you could come to it and go, oh, I wonder what it's like with... Suddenly I can play all of my indie games and use the trackpad when it was a mouse-based one. Then you got people going, oh, I can run emulators for all these games. And, you know, just the use cases are just so massive. And yeah, it's the accessibility of being able to do that sat on your sofa, you know.
It's opening up games to other people. Like I said, the only thing I would like to see added to this now, this is very niche on me, I would like to see a very lightweight TFT screen or whatever that is bigger than the Steam Deck itself, that can clip onto the Steam Deck and sit above it. So you're holding your Steam Deck, your controls and everything underneath with a screen that's raised, lightweight, that you can have, so it's bigger. Which for me would be brilliant because it allows me that bigger screen. That's the only thing I need for this is a bigger screen sometimes, and I don't want to be sat at a computer. But it's very niche. I know it's never going to happen. It's probably something I could jerry rig up, but I haven't got the talent to do that. But again, that's something I'm going, this is brilliant. But if I was designing this, I would have something that's a bigger screen on it. But that's no fault of the Steam Deck because it's immediately better than... Like, I'm playing indie games now that I struggled with on the Switch because the screen was too small. I don't care for OLED. If you want to make an OLED screen and charge like a premium price, go for it down the line. But for me, the trade-off of an OLED screen to the screen size and the price factor, yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Cool, good suggestions. But yeah, no, it's great. I probably waxing lyrical about the Steam Deck every week now, but it's just that good. It just makes you wanna.
Oh, yeah, there's a reason. Yeah. It's made games exciting again.
Yeah, it has.
Talking of games that are exciting, I'm gonna. Oh no, it's a bonus segue.
Oh.
I've been playing a game that is sort of exciting, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it yet. Moonscars.
Okay.
Now this got a little bit of attention because it's a Humble Games published game, and in the September Humble Bundle, I want to say, it was added to the Humble, not the Humble store, but their Humble collection for subscribers. But I got I got a review code for this and got it on Steam. And what you've got here is a 2D Metroidvania, essentially, that leads very heavily into, I would say, Gothic worlds. Closer to the Vania side and not the Metroid side in how it plays. But it's a interesting game where you kind of you go through and it's this kind of it's Openish Worldish kind of like Metroidvania layout of like this dark dank world that you've got to progress through, and it's not very easy. It's really difficult. You die a lot and you learn from each death, and you really do. And it's kind of got that Souls element to it, but I kind of want to refrain from going Souls-like because it's not quite Souls-like in how it does stuff. But it's got a decent story to it, and you kind of make your progression, take on different types of enemies. New ones will kill you quite easily, and then you learn. You've got your various upgrade trees, which you can reset and then rebuild, and you get your different powers, and some enemies then become just like a piece of piss to get through. It's got your basic like attacks, so you like your slashing enemies, your parries, you've got a sword, you can get special like extra weapons that do extra damage, there's magic spells, etc. And yeah, it's an interesting game. I'm enjoying it. I'm not making much progress through it, but I'm just enjoying learning as I go. I like a game like this where it does punish you, but at the same time, it rewards you with taking stock and taking your time. And then it builds the world around you in terms of story and everything. And it comes together really, really well. Now, I don't know, again, I said, I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't know whether it's one that I'm going to continue playing and be, I've got to play more of this like I do Dead Cells. I still play Dead Cells 3-4 times a week for like a couple of runs and stuff like that. I don't know whether this is one I'm that bothered about making sure I have to go back to and have to complete. But playing it for the podcast, I'm enjoying it. And it is really good. And people who like these sort of games, they like Dark Souls-ish aesthetics, will, I think, get a lot from this. And it's clearly a very, very, very good game. It's pretty. I mean, it's done dark really well. The other thing I've got is dark, so I can see it. It's used a lot of grayscale, so I'm not blinded by it. I didn't understand that. Google doesn't understand that either.
No.
Strange. But it's more positives than there are negatives to it, for me. In terms of like the pacing of it is a bit off in terms of progression early on, and that put me off for a bit. And then it kind of goes a bit better as you go on. But the combat is very satisfying. And when you do progress, you feel so good about it. But I think it puts up too many walls to stop you progressing at a pace that I feel comfortable with. So, again, it's good, but with some caveats for me. And I'm not sure I'm that enamoured to go and finish it all the way to the end.
Yeah, fair enough. I see that one's on Game Pass. I actually remembered it was on Game Pass.
Oh, is it on Game Pass as well?
Yeah, or only for... Yeah, it's not streamable. It's Xbox or PC, I think. I'll double check. I'll check my notes.
Check your notes. If you could play it for now, 100% do it.
Yeah.
That's take that. If you don't have to buy it, then 100% play it.
Yeah. No, it's Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC.
I don't think it's a massive game, so download it and play it. But yeah, it's worth it. Okay, if you can play it on Game Pass, or if you've got the Humble Collection or anything, then 100% give this a go. And it plays well on the Steam Deck as well. I must add to that, it plays really well on the Steam Deck. I didn't have to make any adjustments or anything like that to it. It's just, I don't know. I can't even describe why I'm not too fussed about pushing forward, because it's like everything it does, apart from like these Dark Souls style barriers it puts in your way to stop your progression, all the other stuff around it, it's competent at. It's good at, even in many of the places, but it's just not quite enough for me.
Yeah, no, got it. Yeah, I might give it a go and just see what I think. Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. I've got nothing else. You got anything else?
No, that's it, I think. Hang on. Was there one sold? Yeah, just running quickly, and we'll cover it more next week. Criticise Grid Legends on Game Pass, because I tried playing it, and it was just gack in pretty much every way you can imagine. It had terrible frame pacing issues. It kept crashing. It kept changing the graphics settings on my screen. Everything about it was just technically woeful, and I don't know whose side that was on, but I'm happy to blame EA.
Of course. The best grid is still the first one in terms of the all that. Right. Obviously, the first Tokka touring cars, amazing. Tokka 2 touring cars, amazing. Race Driver, Tokka Race Driver, really good. Tokka Race Driver 2, really good. Race Driver Grid, which is the first grid, absolutely stunning, especially the Destruction Derby levels in it. Grid 2, rubbish. Grid Auto Sport, brilliant, as it went pure motorsport on there. That was brilliant. And then the other since then, meh. There you go. There's a grid history lesson for you.
Yeah, good. No, I managed to play a little bit of the game past the technical difficulties, and it seemed to be pretty good. So, if there's not too much egregious EA crap I know you'll probably have to sign into EA when you play it, but if there's not too much egregious EA crap on the PS5 version, I might buy a second-hand copy of it, so obviously they don't get any money, and just try it out on there, because I lean into the grid games, even though, like you say, they've never quite been as good, but there's good bits in them. But we'll see. It's just I hate EA. Anyway, carry on as you were.
I think there's not much else to say. I mean, we've gone on for a while now, so I think we'll just do a games only one this week, unless there's anything specific you want to talk about this week. I've got nothing I need to touch on. I'll talk more about my blindness next week, maybe. But if there's anything you want to, that's fine. Otherwise, Stu. Oh, I can't remember what I usually do. I just carry on talking, don't I, Stu?
Normally, yeah. But you'll do something different.
Shut up now.
Yeah.
Okay. Shut up now.
There it is. Yeah, there's only one thing I wanted to mention, which was the Enough is Enough protest last Saturday, 1st of October. Yeah, so went along to that, to my closest one, which is Ellesmere Port, which is not too far away from where I live. And really great experience, excellent people. Very humbling in places, very, illuminating as well. Like, even if you are, not even left-leaning, but more socially inclined, there's so much to discover about, people's lives and how they're experiencing things. And, I've got a link to the port because my dad used to work for Vauxhalls back in the day when there actually were unions, and he was on strike quite frequently. And so I've grown up always appreciating the place and having a bit of a connection to it, and also a connection to unionisation and stuff like that. But Enough is Enough is also not just about picketing and about strikes, but it's also about fairer conditions for the entire country. And I'd highly encourage anybody who's interested to go to the website, just look up Enough is Enough, you'll find it, and just look at what they're demanding from the government. And I think that last week's was only the beginning, really, and there'll be lots more organised protests and demonstrations and marches and all that good stuff going forward. So if you feel like getting active with it, then go for it. But if you don't, it's fine. But it was very interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, I see. I always feel guilty with these because I kind of have to support from afar.
Yeah,
because I can never get to. We've got obviously my health, my partner's health. We've got the kids, and they've got their activities. And it really sounds like a bit of a dodgy excuse, going, but the kids have got stuff on, and it's a bit too far for me to go. So it's like, well, but at the same time, I fully support these, and if you can get to any of them, then 100% do. But obviously, I know it's not possible for everyone. But I'm glad there are people that do represent me, that are able to do these and make their voices heard. This is my way of making my voice heard. I've got this as an outlet, and it's good that we're seeing. I still think, and I still say this, we are seeing the beginning of an uprising, because you can't call it any more true. Enough is enough. It's getting. Yeah. You start to see parodies of people it's going to be treats for the kids. He's having the heating on for half a day and stuff like that in the future. Yeah. And dinners are just going to be what you've been able to catch outside, and the water, drinking water is a bit brown today, and stuff like that. It's we're seeing parodies of these and jokes of these, and they're born out of real fears. So. At the moment, it's good to see that these protests are peaceful. However, if it doesn't change, they're not going to remain peaceful. That much I am aware of. It's not going to remain peaceful, because we're going to have to take by force, because we can't put up with this any longer.
Yeah.
But good for you for going, Stu. Speaking for those of us that couldn't or wouldn't go.
Yeah, well, it's a huge topic, cost of living crisis, and we'll cover it definitely on 1 week. But in terms,
I can't afford to get up London for it. So
well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. One thing that everyone has to do when you're thinking about attending a protest or whatever is check your privilege. Recognise your privilege. So having time is a privilege. Not having to go to work, not having to look after, to do childcare if you don't have those things, or you can pay other people to do it, that's a privilege. I have to recognise I have the privilege of being able to move around on the weekends without worrying about it. The train strikes coincided with it, so people couldn't use that method of public transport to get to places. That's a big deal. It was unfortunate. That was all down to the Queen. Let's blame all the people organising that for them coinciding.
Don't you speak negatively of the Queen.
I know. I'm still in the queue. I'm broadcasting this from the queue to see her. It's still going on, isn't it?
That's the Dole office now.
Yeah. But no, it's important to check your privilege before. I don't think anybody who attends these things would ever criticise people for not attending. But if you're thinking about it, don't, because everybody's got different circumstances. Check your privilege. But also for the people who can't go, don't feel bad. It doesn't matter what your reason is. We live in a very, very harsh capitalist society where everything is based around work and about money. And if you don't, because of that, have the time, even if it means because you just need to relax in your time off rather than going on a protest, that's totally valid. So there's not going to be any judgment on this podcast for not going. It's just they're there if you want to do it, if you feel like it's an outlet and you have the privilege to be able to do it in your own time. Anyway, that's enough. Steps down off his soapbox and immediately gets arrested by the police. There you go.
Yeah, just don't hold up any blank signs. You'll be all right.
Oh God, yeah, Jesus. But that's a whole other debate.
Good, and hopefully that batch of them has either brought more in to start making more noise, or does start to have some kind of impact. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
But yeah. Oh, I'm going to leave us on a cliffhanger.
Ooh.
Lorraine has been implicated in a murder. More next week.
She sounds like she loves this idea of just saying that she's a murderer and leaving it there for a week.
I'll tell you more off air as a prep for next week, but I will tell you more next week once hopefully we know more.
Excellent. And on that point,
because we've got Top Gear. Oh,
not
God,
saying it. No.
Oh.
No. Back away. No. On that note, we shall leave it. So yes, as usual, follow us on all the socials, engage with our content however you like, join the Discord channel for chat on any subject, but also including mental health and games, obviously. Have a good week, and in the meantime, until next time, stay safe and stay sane.